So more and more groups are moving to the stablecoin model, which is nothing more than a token that's pegged to typically the United States dollar and movements in the United States dollar. And functionally, you could question why that's important considering how liquid the Forex market is and why one would conceivably need to do that, but that's neither here nor there for purposes of today's discussion. But it's becoming increasingly popular, and you see a lot of, especially like exchange-based tokens, moving to that stablecoin model, presumably to give investors some degree of resolve that this token will maintain its volume. But there's some interesting legal implications for it. And the typical process is an investor or purchaser would send in fiat, and the stablecoin would be minted and returned, or simply the investor would send in fiat and just receive the stablecoin. And so it kind of touches three areas of law: commodities, securities, and money service business, Bank Secrecy Act law. So on the security side, what it resembles, especially if there's a redemption function, and by redemption function I mean the ability for me to turn in my stablecoin token and receive in-kind dollars back, right? In that context, in the securities world, that resembles a demand note, right? A demand promissory note, meaning I borrow money from you, you give me a demand note, and at any time I can come back to you with that note and demand repayment, right? And that's with that open redemption policy, right? If you have that attached to your stablecoin, that's where, from a security standpoint, you sort of start to resemble a security. And that's without even touching any sort of dividend function or interest rate or anything like that you may attach to the stablecoin. It's just that simple redemption makes it look or appear and function just like a demand note. On the commodity side, that looks like a swap, right? It's that open redemption function. It makes it look like a swap, which is, just as the name implies, basically an option to redeem for the underlying commodity, which in this case would be the dollar, right? Or dollars, as the case may be. So you have some issues there, and I think that relates to how you're structuring your stablecoin and how that redemption works, if you even have it, right? And then finally, third, you've got the money service business, FinCEN, Bank Secrecy Act registration issues, which I've discussed before how really any ICO, according to FinCEN, as of May, needs to register as a money service business to legally conduct that ICO. And in a stablecoin, you may not do an ICO, but that redemption function is sort of this ongoing, continuing ICO, right? And you see that with some, like Tether and some popular stablecoins, they don't allow redemptions within the United States because what? They're not registered as money service businesses, right? And they need to be, because that exchange, right, that exchange of stablecoin to dollar or vice versa is acting as a money transmitter for federal law purposes, which would require registration as an MSB. So, these stable coins, while good in principle, trigger or could trigger a lot of laws, and it relates all back to the function of the redemption, right? And how that redemption works and if that redemption exists. So if you're going to structure a stable coin, right, it's entirely possible to not have a redemption function, right? The dollar for a long time was pegged on gold, and there was really no redemption function, right? I mean, you couldn't necessarily go get the gold that it was pegged to, and then eventually didn't make any sense. We got off the gold standard altogether. Well, the same can hold true for these stable coins, right? And you see, claims that like Tether, for instance, had enough dollars to back the entirety of its stable coin, but they've burned through like 3 auditors and can't get that claim verified, right? So it goes back to not so much the concept of floating the stablecoin against the dollar or euro dollars or whatever the case may be. It really comes back to that redemption. And if it is in fact a security, right? If it is in fact a commodity or both, which conceivably it could be, then all the flexibility that you have in trading and in being able to transfer goes away, right? And you're going to have a significant problem, not only from a regulatory standpoint, but from a valuation and functionality standpoint, because no crypto exchange would be willing to take it, right? No crypto exchange is going to take a security or a commodity, a bona fide crypto exchange, because legally they're not national securities exchanges or alternative trading systems which would allow them to trade securities, right? And that's the number one qualifier outside of paying the fee to getting listed on a crypto exchange, is having that legal opinion that says, hey, I'm not a security. Hey, this isn't a commodity, right? And so with the stablecoin, especially with these redemption functions, you're going to run into that problem fairly frequently. And then on top of it, you have to be able to just know that no matter what, whether you're doing an ICO or not, whereas like an ICO company that's not doing an ICO but floats a token doesn't necessarily have to register. There are scenarios where they wouldn't necessarily have to register the MSB. A stable coin is a continuous offering in a sense with that redemption function, and would always have to register as a money service business. So it's a risky proposition. My opinion, for what it's worth, is pegging it to the dollar may be attractive from an investor standpoint, but it's not necessarily valuable from a financial product standpoint, because if you wanted exposure to the dollar, if you wanted to hedge your positions vis-a-vis the dollar, you have the most liquid market in the world, which is the market for the United States dollar, that you could very easily tap into and utilize as a risk management or risk aversion tool. So the race to create and mint these stable coins, I don't necessarily understand, but I'm on the other side of the fence. So hey, my opinion may not matter so much, but definitely hit me up if you have any questions. at adamtracy, ADAMTRACY.io, and I will talk to you later. Thanks.